Welcome back, everybody, to part 2 of 5 of the McDonald's and Ray Kroc dictaphone tapes. So as this is video 2, we are going on to tape 2, as we are going through E through F and G through H. They call them discs in the recording, but it's just side A and side B. So the whole tape, tape 2. And in this tape, we're going to hear Ray Kroc and also Fred Turner, Ray Kroc's right-hand man, talk about all kinds of things. You're going to hear Ray Kroc talk about flower boxes and building atmosphere upgrades, an upcoming seminar for operators in Chicago, a McDonald's location in Greensboro, North Carolina, which is the very first McDonald's location that opened within the state, and other businesses imitating McDonald's. Ray Kroc gets really mad about, and he asks the McDonald brothers which steps they should take to keep them away. This tape goes from 1957 into 1958, and Ray Kroc starts discussing cost effectiveness to make the McDonald's locations still look unique, but still being able to do it in an affordable way. He discusses sales figures, a new method of prepping French fries, new locations and franchise realty, new location in San Bernardino, concerns with costs and growth overall, winter weather in Chicago. And then Fred Turner gets on the mic and he talks about sales figures, costs, projections. So there is a lot to listen to, so let's just get into this. This is the Ray Kroc and McDonald Brothers Dictaphone Tape 2. Enjoy.
Disc E, 1957.
Hello, Mac and Dick. I've been going to write you or send you a sleeve ever since I got the nice artist drawing of the gold medallion unit, period. Oh, here I go with the period again. I'm sure tickled you had this artist conception made up, because it's always much easier to expand something when the original thought is created. Now, some of them around here don't like the idea of the flower boxes around the base of the arches, but I do. I think that with indirect lights in the flower boxes going up the arches, that it will enhance the arches and the lower part of the building. And at the back part of the arch, which is up against the tile wall, it will illuminate the entire tile wall along with the arch, and will brighten it and make it more cheerful and, of course, more attractive. The fountain arrangement out in the green cement walk going out to the street is extremely attractive. Also, it has a clever place for the waste cans, and will give the customers that are pulled up in front of that center section something to add to the atmosphere and make it entirely different than what they normally have at most drive-ins. The green cement going all the way out to the sidewalk has worked out extremely well in Lansing, Michigan, and Ann Arbor, Michigan, and the newest unit in Madison, Wisconsin, and certainly gives a wonderful spot in that cement to develop these attractive embellishments. The width of the lot will determine how wide that green cement can be, but it certainly should be wide enough to take care of the bumper overhang on the walk and still provide a safe place for the customers to walk after allowing for that, and to allow for the planter or planters, because in some units they might even have two. You know, in addition to the 4 waste cans you show in the planter in the picture, it might be conceivable that there would be another spot out farther on that green cement where a planter like arrangement could be built with no planter in it, but it would just be big enough to hold 4 waste cans in a tailored or orderly fashion. And then there would be no chance of them being pushed around sideways and over too close to where the cars could hit them and all that sort of thing. You have certainly gone a long way with this, and I want to compliment you on your thinking. And it ties in with my thoughts of upgrading our places so that even imitators of McDonald's will be left behind, and the atmosphere of our places will continue to be upgraded. I think that's about as far as we can go with the building and the front part out to and including the sign. But of course, there are many things that the individual operator can do with shrubbery, fences, carriage-type lamp lighting around the perimeter, flower garden, rock gardens, and maybe at the front entrance, if the lot is extraordinarily wide, some real nice green grass sodding at the corners, and possibly some. Here again, I mean, we can't talk for all of them, but you know, like you have your posts at the entrance to your home with the iron gates. Well, these posts can be made very attractive, as yours are, but not in our case. It wouldn't be that high. But in the post itself, which might be at the outer side of the entranceways, could be a panel in there which would say entrance on one post, showing the entrance on 3 sides of the post, and on the other post would show 3 sides of exit, which was lighted from behind. This looks real smart, and on the top of that can be a smart-looking carriage lamp or something of that kind. Your thought of having a picture to show these zoning boards and things of that kind, of the extra effort we make to make our place an attractive part of the community, is very good and very important. I'm going to have one of our draftsmen make a rough sketch from this artist drawing of yours, and then we'll get one place to follow this type of thing, and so that we can get an actual photograph of it and not have to show an artist's conception, because the photograph shows that it's already been done. You ask if this wouldn't look nice at Kedzie and Peterson. Well, my fast answer is that anything would look better at Kedzie and Peterson than the way it has been. But this is now on the way to accomplishment, period. Bill Barr of 4320 North Cicero has taken possession of Kedzie and Peterson, I believe, as of today or tomorrow. The deal has been all closed, and we will see quite a difference in that operation now that we have a real first-class operator in there. We are having a seminar on November 10th, 11th, and 12th of November at the Bismarck Hotel here in Chicago. This seminar is being confined to about 14 or 15 operators who have been consistently in the top 10 or have special talents, such as having been in the meat business or in research, such as Ed Traisman of Madison, Wisconsin, who was one of the men in charge of research for Kraft Foods. And we are going to discuss things that have been brought up by operators, and refinements in service, improving quality, better advertising and public relations, and about every other subject that has to do with this business. You are, of course, most cordially invited. But I know how you feel about those things, and you prefer not to be involved in them. But if you change your mind, please let me know, because we have to make arrangements for rooms for everyone and all that sort of thing. Some of the fellows that will be there will be Oscar Goldstein and John Gibson from Washington, D.C., Sandy Agate, the Terhune brothers from Muncie, Indiana, Rube Taylor from Connecticut, Jim Zion, Bill Barr, and so forth. We are going to keep records of the meeting, so I'll be able to give you a detailed report when the thing is all over. And we will be able to report on a consensus of opinion on various subjects to all of the operators. I would like to keep your sketch until this seminar meeting, if that is agreeable to you, so that we can display this and talk of the ideas with these fellows during this seminar session. Please let me know if this is acceptable to you. I was in Greensboro, North Carolina last week, and I wish you could have seen the unit. The top of the sign flowed beautifully. Speedy was moving rapidly. The arches were flashing correctly. The sign said over 200 million sold, and it was a beautiful building. They are doing a tremendous business. They are just slightly under $1,000 a day average so far in October, and I think they opened the 30th of September. They are going to be wonderful operators. The man that's actually in charge of the unit was a former chief in the Navy. The meat is of excellent quality, and everything about it is just darn near perfect, and that's hard to say for most of the units. The second site in Greensboro is starting for construction this week, and a third site is being developed. We expect to have units in Winston-Salem, High Point, Raleigh, Durham, and a lease is already concluded in Charlotte, North Carolina. And I guess you know that we're pretty near ready to open in Asheville, North Carolina. I think that state is going to be real good to us, as they have good weather, and the public has already demonstrated their acceptance of our offerings in Greensboro. I'm attaching a piece from the Bloomington, Illinois paper, which was sent to me this morning by our operator in Normal, Illinois. This unit, Mr. Quick, is to be put in one block from our unit in Normal. I just can't understand how people can put a like type of business right on top of the original of that business. What in the devil do they expect to do? And why don't they have enough sense to figure out that they would be far better off to get a spot where we are not located and be the first one there with their particular unit? But this only reflects on the management and shows that they don't have too much above the ears, or they wouldn't do such a thing in the first place. So it shows up their weakness. Now, the thing is that this is an obvious copy of our design, and I think we should do something about it. I think I should write Mr. Comte a letter, or rather have one of our attorneys write him a letter protesting their imitation of our arches and whatever other legal challenges that we can make, and establish the fact that we consider this an infringement of our trademark and identifying McDonald design. Please give me your thoughts on this and return this newspaper clipping to me with your memo so that I have the address of the party I want to write to and all of the other information. We are certainly going to have plenty of competition in the 15-cent hamburger field. And I suppose while I'm talking to you on this sleeve that 2 or 3 others are planning some type of design for a 15-cent hamburger. I'm not concerned with the competition, except if they operate a chain which would confine them to a small area where they would have tighter control than we have. Okay, so much for now. So please return this to me by return mail. That is the picture from Bloomington. Thanks a lot. Nice to talk with you. Okay, bye.
Disc F, March 1958.
Hello, Mac and Dick. I got a phone call and a letter from Roy Anderson of Santa Barbara, who had talked with you about prefabricated buildings from Japan, period. Here I am saying period when I forget I'm putting this on a sleeve. I enjoyed talking with him, and now that I have his letter, I will answer it. But the problem is a rather complex one in that we want a building that cannot be imitated very easily, and one that's costly enough to keep the ordinary operator from duplicating it strictly from the standpoint of expense involved. At the same time, we want this unusual, costly building to be kept within the realms of reason from a cost standpoint. So we are kind of trying to accomplish both ends against the middle. I would hesitate to get involved in a deal that would be so unwieldy in getting structural engineering work and architectural work and changes from such a distant point as Japan. There is always the possibility of some ugly gossip starting that we are catering to the American public, but we buy our buildings from Japan. You know how that thing can be exaggerated and dwelt on by our competitors, and that we are using cheap Japanese labor and fostering that sort of thing. It could build into a big psychological factor. Getting labor to work on buildings that do not carry a union label is another problem. And of course, there's always a chance that tariffs will be changed so that you end up paying more for the building than if you had it here. So it's a very complex thing that I do not feel is important enough to warrant our time, particularly at this moment when we've got much more pressing problems. Saving a few $1,000s on the building is not very important. The only thing that would be good about any kind of a prefabricated building would be to expedite the construction. I now have Jim Schindler, who was chief engineer for Leitner Equipment Company here in Chicago. He was chief engineer for them for about 6 years, and he has started with me on March 1st. He will be in charge of all engineering, construction, signs, and equipment. This is going to help a great deal, and by having better blueprints and refinements, we will be able to expedite the building considerably and, of course, get a better building. The top 10 and additional 5 honorable mention will come out in the next day or two, and you will be amazed to see that Muncie, Indiana, in their first full month of business, were in first place in February with net sales of about $18,500. This is almost $700 a day average for 28 days in February, which is wintertime in Muncie. You will also see an amazing situation where Moline, Illinois, opening on the 3rd of February, losing the 1st and 2nd, which happened to be Saturday and Sunday, ended up with about $13,500 for their first 29 days in business. And again, in the winter month of February. I said 29, I meant 26 days of business. My sister and brother-in-law opened in Lafayette, Indiana, on February the 26th. They're not. I'll have to contact somebody from the movie studios there to find out what words are better than amazing and colossal. I expect Lafayette will be #1 McDonald's in the month of March, which will be their first month in business. They should be somewhere around $22,000. They had rain or snow or both the first 9 days they were open. They opened on a Wednesday with $605, then $625 on Thursday, and $918 on Friday, $1035 on Saturday, and $940 on Sunday. Last Saturday, which was their second Saturday in business, they did $1,200. Needless to say, my sister and brother-in-law are happy as a couple of kittens. We have a very gorgeous building in Lafayette. I had the building built by the builder who did the building for us in Alexandria, Virginia, and I like it. Drain gutter at the back of the building and a stainless steel downspout. He has radiant going in all the window sills and all of the conduits go through the walls. All of the panels are flush with the wall. All of the electric outlets are flush with the wall set in. And other details that are just for the month of March. #1, 2 places will be the very newest places, which could very easily be Lafayette and Moline. This has proven to me that the man is out in the country where the people good quality and all that sort of thing. The big cities are not for us. The big cities are too blasé. Don't even turn their head to see a new type of place. But in towns like I mentioned, they brag about us. They talk about us. They're loyal. They're happy. They're intrigued. And they love us. We make a tremendous impact when we open up in these towns. And we get the benefit, tangibles of word-of-mouth advertising from people who are happy with the service they have received. The in those towns is about town. The average sales went up. Up. The first can and was a can. I know that the 15th one showing on the list better than $10,000. We have a new system now for French fried potatoes, which I think you will like very much. Between the sink and the fryers, we have space now to hang some 30 or 35 baskets. After the potatoes are blanched, they are left in the basket and hung to cool, and then they are taken off in the proper order and finished. This eliminates dumping the baskets into pans and handling them and breaking them up so that the potato stays in much better shape and condition. We are moving along very rapidly, and developers put up change stores and that sort of thing to expedite new locations for us and finance the building and completing a real estate location with our improvement on it, which has been our main drawback. It looks very much as though we should end up the calendar year 1958 with about 150 units open. At least that's our goal. We will not want for operators. It'll simply be a question of whether Franchise Realty Company can keep up with the demands from the right hand for enough. We now have three supervisors with Rick Turner at the head of it. The other two fellows being Tony Felker and Nick Karras. Tony Felker is in Tampa, Florida, which incidentally opened last Friday at noon, and Lake Worth, West Palm Beach, Florida, opened the Friday before that. Nick Karras is out in Boulder, Colorado, where our building will be ready in about 4 weeks, checking on the suppliers for that unit and also supervising the Denver unit. Fred Turner was in Ann Arbor, Michigan yesterday, where we will open in about 4 weeks, and he flew from there to Louisville, where we should open in about 2 or 3 weeks. Well, the difference of opinion as to various processing and certain qualities of product. By controlling that least, we can get tough, and that's about the only thing they respect is toughness and unrelenting policy on our part that you will do this or else. There is just no compromising with them, because without being their landlord and controlling their lease, there's a constant argument. So from the standpoint of growth on the firmest kind of foundation, the only way that we can positively know that these units are doing what they are supposed to do and using the products they are supposed to use is to make it so that they can have no alternative whatsoever. You can't give them an inch. It's a shame that people are that way, but they are. So we have to accept the animal as it is, and not the way we'd like to have it be. Frankly, it's gotten to that point when people come in and they say they've got the money to buy their own property and put up their own building. We say, well, you can do that, but you've got to lease the whole thing to us, and then we'll sublease it back to you. And of course, they say that's silly, and they don't want to do it. So then we tell them, well, then the best thing for you to do is to open up your own type of business on there. We tell them, frankly, that we simply cannot trust the individual, and that the individual seeking to go into the McDonald business must have respect and trust an organization such as ours. The organization cannot trust the individual. The individual must trust the organization. And if the individual doesn't have that kind of confidence or trust, then he should not go into that kind of business. There is just no other way to handle it, and any other way would be building on a marshy foundation that could collapse at any time. How well you know, as I know, that we would tell somebody to go visit a McDonald unit, and they'd come back and say, well, they're not doing it the way you told me at all. They're using this, or they're doing it this way, and they're doing it this way, and that way. Here I go, well, I'll be talking to you on their future.
Disc G, April 1958.
Hello, Mac and Dick. It was nice seeing you in town, even though we don't seem to see enough of each other. And I hope that on some of your trips that one of you will be able to go out with one of the field counselor men for a couple of days and just see how they work with these units. I think it would be very illuminating and very interesting to you. In fact, I would like to have both of you spend a couple of days in a car with maybe one with Fred Turner and one with Nick Karras or Tony Felker, John Horn, Ray Sawinski, or one of the boys, as I have done, because then you really get to the heart of the problems. I am sending with this a letter that came in this morning from Don Coffey. It shows Palatine, Illinois, but we show it as Arlington Heights, which it's really a part of. I'm also attaching a copy of a letter I wrote to Don Coffey. This downtown of yours sounds extremely interesting. There are naturally problems with anything that is good. If there weren't problems, everybody and his brother would have been in it some time ago. So usually when we have problems, we know that anybody going into our type of business is going to have at least the same problems we have, and probably greater because of their less experience. The first unit should be in a climate where the front can be completely open and where the floor stays clean, because you have, you don't have snow and ice and sleet and slush that we have here. I would love to see the first unit go up in San Bernardino, and the more I think about it, the more logical it seems. First of all, you know the ropes in San Bernardino. You should be able to get a storefront very easily and at a fair lease because of your reputation and credit in that town. Secondly, you've got the help that you can start off with the best kind of help and experienced help. And thirdly, that you can watch it real closely yourself in an area where you have all the benefits of your name and the record of performance and reputation and all that sort of thing. And of course, on top of that, you've got the weather that you can leave that whole front wide open 12 months a year. You've also got all your suppliers, although there would be some modification if you were going to use the mix instead of the hard product for milkshakes, for instance. But the more I think about it, the more it seems logical for me, to me rather, that you are the fellows that's got the idea, and you've got the time to spend with it and perfect it so that we can offer it as a proven item. We are going to have the sales and the gross profit and the labor cost and everything else involved in order to sell it, because otherwise we wouldn't have any facts to deliver. The reason for our rapid growth here is that we took all of the baloney out of the presentation of McDonald's, and we gave them actual, factual P&L statements from definite operations. And of course, Des Plaines was the first one to have these statements, and then they continued to grow. So we've got to have that information and a complete package set up in order to offer a proven, packaged formula. Another factor with us is that, first of all, I don't have the people to do this, and I couldn't very well go to one of our dozen operators and ask him to put in a trial balloon deal, and we don't have the money to do it by ourselves. As a matter of fact, I just got our statement for January, February, and March, and I find that we're losing money faster. I feel I have gone about as far as I can with expansion of the organization, and now I've got to pull in our oars a little bit and stay within our income so that we are operating in the black. The cost of these field men in covering these units at regular intervals and spending a week with them at opening is a very costly thing. And I think I have a good logical reason for demanding that we stay in the black each and every month of the year, whether it's winter, spring, or fall. So as far as we are concerned, I don't see how we can do it, which leaves it pretty much up to you fellas. I think San Bernardino would be far better than considering any place like San Francisco or Oakland, because your labor situation there is very rough due to the fact that it's highly unionized, and real estate in both of those places is very high. I remember Walgreen telling me some years back that San Francisco was the highest labor cost market they had in the entire country. The more I think about this downtowner, the greater the impact becomes in my mind about the quick service carryout, which is like the express checkout counters for a few items in the supermarkets. I think it wouldn't be long before everyone in the area would find out that they could send somebody over to the downtowner and be back in a jiffy with enough food for maybe a half a dozen people. I think this would help the average, because there might be times when the stand-up counter might not move as fast in turnover as it was assumed it would, and where the dollar sale would be relatively small. So the carry-out with high dollar sales and fast turnover should supplement the counter and work out a pretty good average. Well, you left here while we had pretty good weather, but I want to tell you that on Sunday it sleeted, and it was in the high 30s with a strong wind, so that the White Sox and Milwaukee Braves couldn't even play a ball game. It was that bad. Today it's just as bad, although it's stopped snowing, and it's clear, and of course the streets are dry now, but the outlook is the same for tomorrow. So I thought we were all through with the winter weather, but it looks like some of it's come back. Well, that's all I have in my mind for now, and I wish you'd give me your reaction to my suggestions about this downtowner, and let's kick it around some more. Okay, so long for now.
Disc H, June 13th, 1958.
Hi, Mac and Dick. This is Fred Turner talking on Friday the 13th. It's late in the evening, and I'm practically alone in the office as there are only a couple of the girls working. I spent the last hour trying to project some figures on the McDonald Downtowner. It allows 52 Sundays, Thanksgiving, Christmas, and New Year's Day off. I projected my figures on a gross sales of $100,000, which is an average of $323 a day. My projection is the store will operate from 10 o'clock in the morning till 7 o'clock at night. As you know, our national average on food and paper costs has been running right around 45% if we move to averages the last year. The food cost will be 1.5% higher. It appears that the paper cost will be about 0.5% lower, or 4.5%. The reason I feel it's going to be lower is because we'll have fewer carry-out trays probably, due to the fact that there'll be fewer family orders. There'll naturally be some carry-out to offices and other businesses, but I still feel we'll use fewer carry-out trays, and more of the food will be eaten on premises. So with a 41.5 food and a 4.5 paper, it went to the 46% food and paper cost. Or the cost of materials would run 1% greater than normal, or rather 1% greater than in the other operation. You might like to pull out the constructed P&Ls that we sent out recently and compare these costs I'm going to read off with the costs on the $125,000 statement. Projected accounting and legal at $600 a year or $50 a month. Average accounting costs will be running $60, $65, and $70 a month, but this is a trim, neat little operation, and we ought to be able to shop around and get accountants to handle this for $50 a month. Advertising projected at 2% or $2,000. I suspect that the best advertising mediums will be direct mail pieces to offices, retail businesses, small manufacturing concerns, etc. Handbills might be a possibility, but I think we'll have to be careful here or we might cheapen it. There shouldn't be the need for radio and as much newspaper in this type of operation. If an operator has got a McDonald hamburger unit in the same community, then he can split advertising costs between the two businesses. Utilities I project out at $3,000. This is a little higher than I think they're really going to run. Some releases in the downtown area Very possibly there won't be any heat. Certainly electrical will be a lot less because of the smaller sign, fewer neon tubes on the external portion of the building, fewer fluorescent tubes, the gas, water on the fry department, another minor consideration. Insurance I project out at $700, should be a lower premium on plate glass insurance on the sign and external neon, lower liability premium. In some cases, there shouldn't be any fire insurance that some of our operators are carrying now, depending again upon the lease, the building or premises we're in. Workman's compensation should be lower. Interest I projected out at $710. Now, interest, even on the constructed statements that you're looking at, is on the basis of the first 3 years only. Should be about $400 a year less because of the reduced equipment cost and reduced sign cost that I'll give you my projections on in a few minutes. License fee 1.9%, $1,900. Linen down $500. I made a guesstimate of about 1/3 less linen cost. Maintenance and repair I cut in half. I placed that at $500. Certainly maintenance and repair should be a lot less, and my $500 on maintenance and repair might be a little bit high, and I think my linen might be a little bit high. Operating supplies, $500. I took a third off of that. I hung to the third quite a bit through this whole thing, and the reason I came to the third was I figured that we wouldn't have the night shift, which represents about a third of the costs as far as consumptions and utilizations of different materials. Also, Sunday is another factor. Payroll I projected out at $17,600 or 17.6%. Now this might really be a little bit high. I projected on this basis. We have a janitor for 4 hours. He'd come in at 6 or 7 and work till either 10 or 11 o'clock. He would have the floors and the windows to do. He'd have the interior sidewalls of the building to wipe off every day. He'd have all the stainless steel to polish every day. He'd have the ceiling to polish and the light tubes every few days. I think 4 hours ought to do a real good job of this. Incidentally, one of the most appealing things to me about this whole operation is how easy it's going to be to keep it clean and really merchandise it. I've got 3 full-time employees listed that'll work from 9 in the morning till 7:30 at night. That's 10 and a half hours. 3 full-time employees, so that's 66 hours a week apiece. Actually, they probably wouldn't work 4.5 hours straight through, but there might be 2 part-time employees that would share this, but I think those total number of hours for those 3 full-time men would be about right. Got another full-time man that works from 11 in the morning till 6 in the evening. He's there for the lunch hour and whatever dinner hour we might have. Got another part-time man just for the lunch hour, coming in at 11 and working until 2. If the McDonald operator doesn't have a time he is operating the downtowner, then he could take the place of the full-time man that works from 11 o'clock until 6 o'clock, or he could take the place of the full-time man that works from 9 to 7:30. And on second thought, he probably would take that shot, in lieu of the fact that he closed so early. So let's exclude, just for a minute, let's exclude the owner and say that he's in addition to the other employees I've listed. That brings us to a total of 282 hours for a week, 6-day week, times $1.20 per hourly rate. Total cost per week is $339, 52 weeks out of the year, $17,600. Honestly, think it's a little strong, but I ran my figures quite conservative all the way through. Payroll tax, around $970 on the basis of 5.5% of payroll. This varies a little bit from one state to another, but if anything, might be a little bit high. Rent, I ran in at $6,000. I'm taking a shot in the dark. I have no idea what these downtown rentals would run. I chose $6,000 because it's 6% of the gross. There shouldn't be any real estate taxes in this case. Scavenger, I ran in high. I ran in scavenger at $1,000 a year. Probably, there wouldn't be an incinerator in the majority of downtown locations. There could be if it was part of a shopping center. So the paper from the operation and the little waste from the operation would have to be a 5 or 6 day a week pickup. Sign maintenance, I cut it by 3/4 of a minute, $200. Telephone I run it at $300. I cut it by $50. Miscellaneous and office are under $300. I cut it by $50. So total operating cost $36,780. So the food and paper costs are 46% on a $100,000 volume. They'll leave a gross profit of $54,000 gross profit. Take the $36,780 operating cost off this gross profit, and you come up with a net profit before depreciation and officer's salary of $17,220, which is a world beater as far as I'm concerned. Lord, it's certainly amazing. I've got my projection that I'll give you now on the total investment for an individual operator and the initial investment. On the sign projection, which is a pure guess, is $3,500 on the total cost of the sign outside and the arch through the menu board. $3,500 total cost, down payment $500. The equipment I computed at $18,000, which, like the rest of my figures, might be a little bit high. I put 1/3 down, $6,000 down. Franchise realty fee and McDonald fee would remain unchanged, $1,500 for each fee. Security deposit on a lease, I don't know. Again, I don't know how this would run. I would suspect that we can get locations in downtown areas, particularly with, maybe 2 or 3 months security deposit on the lease, and in some cases, very possibly without any security deposit on the lease. But I run high, figuring outside and figuring conservative. I run that in at $5,000 for a security deposit. Operating capital and the miscellaneous, I run it at $5,000. So total cost, total investment for the operator totals to $34,500. Initial cost of getting into the business, $19,500. So one more item on the projection of sales and costs. I think the food and paper, not food and paper, but the break-even point on this operation might be $65,000 to $70,000 a year. After leaving Santa Barbara in California, I've naturally given this thing considerable thought, and the more I think about it, the better it looks to me. So the one thing I see that particularly bothers me, and that's that I'm wondering what type of a dinner hour we're going to have. This will naturally vary with types of locations. I'm afraid, though, in a downtown area, in the larger metropolitan areas, that the dinner hour will be a very poor one. I know, for instance, in Chicago Loop, McDonald Downtowner would have to close at 5 or 5:30 because there would be very little business after that time. In the smaller communities, take a location like Joliet, Illinois, or a community like Joliet, Illinois. In the downtown area, you could probably merchandise and promote and develop a niche for yourself on take-home for the people who work in the downtown area and who are only 15, 20 minutes at the most from their homes. In Chicago and Pittsburgh and Milwaukee, other cities like that, I think the interim period between the time that they left the office or their place of work and arrived at home would be too great, something in terms of 30, 35, 40 minutes, too great to be able to take food home. So I'm dubious that this portion of the business would be very good in the large metropolitan areas. And an outlying shopping center should be a lot better for the dinner hour. In the smaller communities, to repeat myself, the dinner hour should be all right. A real good, strong possibility for this operation that we didn't discuss, at least it wasn't brought up in my presence, was putting this in the campus or dogtown communities around colleges. Now, I'm thinking specifically of colleges and universities I'm familiar with, like Drake in Des Moines, Iowa, Ames in Iowa City, Iowa. Some of the colleges of 4 and 5 and 6 and 7,000 students in Illinois and Wisconsin, where you could go into an area it would be virtually impossible to locate, and you ought to do one whale of a business. In fact, I think this might be the market location might have the greatest potential. The boardwalk on Atlantic City, as you mentioned, certainly sounds real good, and that ought to do a hell of a volume. If you'd come up with any ideas on my discussion that you want to offer prior to the time of your April visit, suggest you send a sleeve to my home at 2114 North Kedzie, K-E-D-Z-I-E Boulevard in Chicago. And I'll either bring the sleeve down here early in the morning, or I oftentimes stay late at the office. I can play it late. Or sometimes bring the dictaphone home over the evening or on the weekend. I haven't wavered on my word that I'd tell anyone, but I'll sure be happy when you get here and the idea is laid out on the table. I'm very anxious to see what Ray's reaction is going to be. I've been talking up San Bernardino's operation among the operators since I got back, and have awakened some real interest. Psychologically, it's a little upsetting to them when I tell them that I've seen the finest McDonald operation in the country, and the best in merchandises a majority of drive-in restaurants in the country. This awakens a lot of interest, and I've already teased them enough with it that 3 operators are planning to make a trip out to San Bernardino. I wrote about Jim Zion. Jim owns a Criterion restaurant in St. Paul. I've heard Ray speak of him. Incidentally, there'll be an operating post on in Haslam Medical in Syracuse Park. So they're outstanding restaurants, a fine job.